I found something really strange when I was going through the jazz phrase system. Listen to this. Wes plays this line over Caravan. And then Grant Green plays this line over Aerogen. Then we also have Pat Martino on Road Song. And Joe Pass on All the Things You Are. Now, if you're listening closely, you might notice that all of these lines sound so similar. And that's because they're the same phrase path. And we're going to get into what it means for it to be a phrase path versus just a lick. Now, I'll show you the lick, I'll break it down. Then what we'll do is go through this on different chords. So you can use this same phrase on different chords. And then finally moving it around as a phrase path. So something deeper is going on here with the jazz language, that we have 4 of these greats playing the same kind of line, also all over E flat 7 or B flat minor on different tunes, different eras. So there's clearly something important going on here that we need to understand and that I think you guys want to get into your playing. So first let's break this down and let's use the Wes example because I think it's a very clear one. So he starts off, and that's the part I want to focus on. This phrase, and really all phrases, we're not going to talk deeply about scale theory. I think a lot of teachers and a lot of people get confused going too far into scale theory, chord scale theory, and it really leads us astray from seeing these connections. What we want to do with this is understand this in terms of the 9 essential jazz patterns framework. And what this starts off with, if we want to understand this idea, is we have this 2-note enclosure. So we have above, we have C, we go below with A, and then we target B flat. On one string, you see above, below, B flat. Once we get there, we have this very common pattern of a 1, 2, 3, 5, what I call essential jazz pattern 3. So the first one is essential jazz pattern 8, 2-note enclosure, and then 3. 1, 2, 3, 5. Now, there's a few ways that this phrase gets played by these guys. The first one is this 1, 2, 3, 5. Another one is going through a scale. Just kind of walking up a scale. But either way, we start off with this enclosure, this chromaticism, and then we go to one of those first 3 essential jazz patterns, either a scale or the 1, 2, 3, 5. From there, we start to get a lot of other variations. But the idea is that we have this path that moves us. It could be with an arpeggio afterward. Some of the later examples we'll see ascend further or start to descend. What we want to see is how this path fits. And it's very important that we understand this in reference to the chord in this position, since that's where we're playing it. And I think that's what these guys are really seeing, is they're visualizing this chord and they know how to play a line that gets them through that. So in this position, we want to look at this E flat 13. You might know the E flat 9. It's right there, just with the pinky is E flat 13, and I don't play the E flat. This chord is going to be very important later when we want to move this around, so keep that in mind. We'll get back to this chord in a second. So we have that voicing, and now look at how that shows our whole phrase. We start to play ideas within this chord. So we see that E flat 7, and we can play through that idea. So let's go to this Grant Green example briefly, because it shows us why we need to think in this broader perspective of the essential jazz patterns and as phrases and not a specific scale theory. If we look at what Grant Green did, when he's playing over F7, the chord is different. We start in B flat minor, but it doesn't stay there, it doesn't go to E flat 7, it's F7. And so a scale theory approach to this would have been like, oh, well, that phrase is just B flat melodic minor, which is partially true. But if we looked at all of the notes in detail, sometimes there's an A flat in there. That's not part of B flat melodic minor. Why would that be played? What if we're changing to a different chord like F7 here? Why is Grant Green playing E flat and E over F7? E doesn't make much sense over F7, and also that's not part of B flat melodic minor. So we get into all these kind of issues that all of a sudden the scale theory of it totally falls apart. And that's because that's not what these guys are thinking for the most part. There are some exceptions for modal playing and some other things. But when we're talking about standard jazz bebop language, it's not a scale being applied to a chord, it's language. In the same way that when we're talking right now, I'm not thinking about what letters fit together, what vowels go with which consonants. I'm just talking from learned vocabulary, phrases that I've learned, and I make adjustments along the way. So these guys have learned this kind of phrase, and if they hit one note left or right from the fret, it's not going to impact the feeling of that phrase as long as they get that momentum out. Okay, so at this point you might think, cool, that's a nice phrase over B flat minor, E flat 7, I'll use that. But there's so much more to this phrase and so many more examples I've found that it's really critical to understand this fully and get a lot of use out of it. If you want to play like Joe Pass, Grant Green, Wes, Benson, Pat Martino, all of these guys have played this phrase. So let's look at an example with this exact same path, but over different chords. So Joe Pass plays this on the tune I Love You, sounding like this. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, that is almost the same phrase that Wes played on Caravan. And this is what got me down this whole path of trying to figure out and start looking for these licks. And once I started looking, I was hearing them everywhere. Once you guys understand this, you will hear this everywhere. And if we look at this, the progression is not B flat minor, E flat 7. He's playing this over a minor 2-5 that resolves to F major. So G minor 7 flat 5 and C7. Why does this work over the same kind of phrase as B flat minor? And it's going back to that chord voicing I told you guys to keep in mind. So this voicing, it's an E flat 13, but it's also a G minor 7 flat 5. G, D flat, F, and C is also a voicing for G minor 7 flat 5. So this is very important, so I want to slow down for a second here. When you have a phrase that fits on a given chord voicing like this, if you can rename that and think of that chord voicing in terms of a different key, a different root, then that other line you played will also fit on that chord. So if I learn an idea that fits through this, that can work for E flat 7. It can work for G minor 7 flat 5. It could work for B flat minor 6-9, C7 sus flat 9, A7 altered. A lot of options here. D flat major 7 sharp 11. There's the last one. And so it really expands the possibilities here. If you guys want to learn more about that, I'll link to Secret Jazz Chord video where I learned this from Barry Green. But it's very critical. At least for now, just understand that you learn a line with this voicing. Wherever you move that shape around, you have that phrase available to you and that path. And that's why these greats were using this all over the place, because on guitar, we use this phrase all over the place. A7 altered. So we have that phrase and that voicing available to us on any tune we're playing. Now another great example comes from Pat Martino on Road Song, where he plays this. And I wanted to show you guys this phrase because it starts very similarly, but he's fitting it to the chord he's on. Meaning, we were playing this idea before as B flat minor with that D flat. And now Pat Martino's switching it and thinking B flat major. He's using the same phrase, but he's linked it in his mind to a different chord. Now he's linking it to B flat major here. But again, it's not about the scale, it's about these essential jazz patterns. We still have essential jazz pattern 8, the enclosure, and when he gets here, we still have essential jazz pattern 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, but related to this key. So it's B flat, C, D as the third, and F instead of D flat. So by having that broader perspective, we're not confused or tied down when one note changes from D flat to D. We're thinking about that bigger pattern. That's what lets us connect these together and express these ideas more easily. Don't think note to note. If you're thinking note to note, then we have a lot of work to do. And you can watch some videos on this and I'll help you get there. But you want to start to have a broader perspective as you're looking at these phrases and not analyze them note for note according to a scale. I promise you, I spent years doing that and it was a big waste of time. So this phrase path, which we'll get into right now, can be used even beyond just a specific chord voicing. Once you start to change it, vary it, and connect it to other chords, it becomes so much more useful. It becomes this tool that you can pull out whenever you need to ascend in this way. So if this was so useful, we should have examples of guys playing this not just on E flat 7 or B flat major this, but all over the guitar, and we do. And so let's look at some of those examples. What you guys want to understand here, what I'm going to show you, is how you can use this phrase over many different kinds of chords and chord progressions. So Joe Pass uses this on major chords, which sounds like this. He also uses this on dominant chords as a cool double time line. And then Pat Martino will play something very, very similar to that over major chords. And then my favorite one, which I saved for last, is this Benson one he plays on Stella. By now I hope you guys understand that this isn't a Wes lick, it's not a Grant Green lick, a Joe Pass. This is clearly shared language between all of these jazz guitar greats. It's something I discovered going through the jazz phrase system, which you can learn about below. If you want to get more of these phrases, what I did is broke down some of my favorite phrases over 7 key chords and progressions, 5 great licks from these guys. I'll be releasing some of these packs through the Jazz Guitar Vault. You can access the Jazz Guitar Vault for free, and then these ebooks would be paid at that link. If you guys want to learn how to improvise creatively and confidently, you want to learn repertoire and improvisation, comping, the full stack of jazz guitar, I encourage you to check out Chase's Guitar Academy below, and I would love to help you there. We have a great fall session planned as well with some great artist master classes, so just keep that in mind. And let me know if you guys dug this lesson, if you have questions about the path, and I will answer them below.